Hello, everyone. Hi, Lynette. Lovely to see you. I am going to just wait for a few more minutes until a few more people arrive and then we can get started. Lynette, so lovely to see you again. And yes, I love your statement around wanting to helping people laugh and, yeah, in their self-mastery, personal development. That's amazing. Laughter for living. So glad that you can join us. And as per the other workshops that some of you might have joined, it's going to be a very similar format today. So I'll be presenting the workshop today on personal branding, and we're really going to focus more on the values, the vision, and the mission side of things when it comes to branding today. So yesterday's workshop was about the personality behind the brand and the brand voice, but today we're actually going to dive into your values. So this is really interesting because I love the topic of values. It's something that keeps coming up no matter what I tend to talk about or speak on. It's one of the things that seems to be so inherent in my work. So I'm really passionate about sharing my knowledge about it with everyone today. So I'm just going to start the slides and then we'll wait a few more minutes, given that there are just a few more people that we would like to wait on to join us today. And if there's any comments or any questions that you have along the way, feel free to drop them in the chat box. So I'll pop in and out every now and then just to see if there are comments. But if you have any questions, we'll have question time at the end. So you'll have your chance to really dive deep into some of those questions. And they can be very specific in terms of today's topic as well. And thank you so much, Dels. Lovely to see you again. Yes, so Dallas is a strengths coach and works with individuals and teams to identify what they're best at and how to work well together. That sounds lovely and so integral to teams as well, because I think that's really important work for people to understand and identify aspects of their own strengths in themselves. If you're here, please say hi and let me know what you do. Let me know what type of business you have and the type of brand that you have as well. And if anyone has done any work on understanding their values when it comes to their personal brand or their vision, if you've written a vision statement or a mission statement, let me know in the chat as well. It'll be good just to see where everybody is at with their brand and understanding their brand a little bit more as well. Okay, yep, great. All right, I will get to some of those messages. I've got a few messages that we can definitely answer towards the end, if not throughout the presentation, if it's relevant as well. So it's a picture from my homepage. I've been changing the text pictures. Okay, great. So Lynette's just sent through a question and I'll probably answer that as we go. It'll be a little bit further towards the end, but I'll keep that in mind as we go through the presentation. Hi, Berna. Berna is an architect. She specializes in unit developments with strong focus on sustainability. Excellent. Oh, that sounds really interesting. Okay, and then Dales has worked on values, but not so much on mission and vision. Okay, excellent. Great. All right, let me start the presentation and we'll get started. Okay, so the intent behind today's presentation is really to help everyone think about who they want to become. So I want you to keep that in mind because I think this is really an important part of the branding process, because we're always in evolution and we're always in evolution of the next version of who we want to become. And it's the same for stepping into a new version of our brand, especially if you're thinking of rebranding or if you're creating a new brand. It's your chance to really craft something that is intentional and aligned with who you are, have really strong foundations that relate back to your strengths, your values, your vision, and your mission. And it serves a bigger purpose because, in a sense, you end up knowing where you want to go with your brand. And it also helps you understand the direction as well as some of the decisions that you might need to make along the way when it comes to your business and your brand. So once again, the ASBAS Digital Solutions Program, this is one of the workshops that the program supports and provides for small businesses in Victoria and Australia as well. So know that you'll have access to a range of these workshops, and they're all free, which is great. And at the moment they're online, but there are some workshops in future that I know they're planning, which will be in person. So keep an eye out for those as well. And you also have up to 4 hours of paid mentoring as well. So it's 2 hours for $25, which is such a great bargain. And actually you get to go through some of this material with a mentor of your choice. And that's really great if you want direct one-on-one feedback on how you're building your business or how you're building your brand as well. So hello everybody, my name is ChunYan. I'm a brand designer, I'm a coach, and I'm an author as well. I work primarily for small businesses in the food, wellness, and the holistic space. So I work with a lot of yoga teachers, a lot of coaches, a lot of conscious creative businesses as well. And that just happens to be something that I'm so passionate about because it really lines back to my values. And we'll dive deeper into the values today, which I'm really excited to share with you as well. And I actually went to chemical engineering school. So I was an engineer, that's my background. And a few of you might have already heard this from yesterday's presentation, but I actually started there and spent about 6 years in chemical engineering and pharmacology before I actually decided to become a brand designer. And now I am loving the work that I do because I'm able to work for small businesses and really support them in terms of marketing, branding, product, and packaging development. So a lot of my experience in the past with brands such as global brands like Unilever, Twinings, and Loving Earth were all based in marketing and branding roles, as well as product and packaging development. And now I can do that for small businesses and offer that expertise and service on. So my branding studio is based in Melbourne, and I run that solely on my own, which is lots of fun. And so as with all my workshops, I really want you to take something away at the end of it. So I want this to be something that you are able to continue to build, because this is something that takes time. It's not going to be something that you are going to learn and grasp within the 2 hours necessarily. It might actually take a little bit of time to evolve, especially when it comes to vision and the mission for your business. That tends to take a bit of time. So you'll have free worksheets at the end to help you elevate your brand, and I'll share the links right at the end for you. And what you'll learn today is the importance of having a super strong personal brand and why that's really relevant for today. We will also have a look at some epic personal brands and actually break them down to see what they are doing well and why they are so sticky as a personal brand. And it also helps when we actually break this down for your business too. So we're going to do this when it comes to defining your values, your vision, and your mission for your personal brand. So I have a framework that I use with my clients and my coaching clients in helping them break down their values and really define their vision as well as their mission. So we're going to go through that framework today, and then the worksheets will support that after today's session too. And I'll also talk through how to apply those values, vision, and mission to your brand and your business as well. And I think a lot of those questions that you might have, just jot them down or like add them into the chat if you have anything that comes through while we're doing the presentation, because I'll answer them at the end, and it'll be really beneficial and helpful for everybody else as well. And I'm also going to take you through just the final little bits around understanding the next steps for creating your personal brand. So how you actually have to go about understanding what those next steps are and seeing what those action steps will be. So why is personal branding so important for today? It's really important because nowadays, I don't know if this is, I guess this is something that I've been noticing a lot as well. Hello to the few people that have joined. So nice for you guys to join us. Say hello in the chat if you would like. But today, a personal brand is really important because it's all about establishing connection at a human-to-human level. Now, I talk about this a lot because it's really dear to me. And I think it's really important because when we are acting as role models for our brands, people need to understand who we are and what we are all about, what our values are, what our vision is, and what our mission is, to get a good cohesive sense of the type of brand that they're going to be purchasing from or deciding to work with. So you're really wanting to humanize brands. And this is a big trend today. People are really steering away from almost companies that don't have a human, sort of a humanized version of their brand, just because it's not as relatable. So it's really important to be establishing a connection at that human-to-human level, because we are human beings and we're wanting to work with human beings as well. So we want to serve your audience at that instinctive level. That's why it's really sticky, because we're really all about connecting with people at a community. If you look at Maslow's pyramid, the basic need of Maslow's pyramid, one of those is to have community and a support system, people around us. And so when we feel like we're part of a community and we have connection to other people, it actually drives this sense of knowing that we're safe. So when it comes to human psychology, this is why human-to-human branding is really important. And it gives you the opportunity to build expertise and credibility in a way that is authentic and true to you. And what this does over time is it nurtures your brand so that there is trust and loyalty and brand love over time. So people are more likely to purchase from you and support your brand because they feel like they know you. And they'll do this over other companies and corporations. So if you can always build trust and loyalty through authentic connection, that is the best way forwards for personal branding and with branding in general. So branding in terms of personal branding is actually the art of shaping public perception. So it's how people perceive you as a brand. It is what your audience or other people think of you when they hear your name. And it's the accumulation of everything that you have ever created in your business, is doing, and will achieve. So the preference for this is that it is for your business. So there is a distinction between you having your personal brand that is in alignment with your business, and then there's probably the part of you that exists outside your business as well. So it's really interesting and important for you to keep that in mind while we do these exercises, to see your business and your personal branding to be somewhat separate. There is always going to be an overlap, and that's okay, but it's good to understand what parts of yourself you're keeping just for your business and what parts of yourself you're keeping just for you in your natural home environment or with your friends and your family. So I want to take you through some of the best practice examples of epic personal brands. And I have been a little bit selective with these ones because There are, of course, really famous people that we all look up to and admire when it comes to epic personal brands. So I haven't really touched on those because I feel like everybody will have a good sense of those people already. So celebrities, for example, is a good example of these. But the ones that I've chosen today are going to be probably not as big as the likes of Oprah or Beyonce, but hopefully it'll give you a good example or a good insight into why their brand is so sticky and what makes them really unique. So Seth Godin is someone that I really admire. He is a author of many, many books. He is also very prolific with his blog as well. So he's a very strong writer, and his niche is in marketing. And the thing that makes Seth Godin really unique and distinctive is that he typically has yellow as his brand color. He also is very prolific with always showing up with yellow glasses. I don't know if you notice that, but there is always like a hint of yellow in his branding. He is also bald, and I think when you talk about that in interviews, he is really proud of the fact that that is a very distinctive personal feature of his brand. So he's spoken about that actually a few times because he's like, there's not many people that look like me, and that's what makes me really interesting. He's very direct and to the point when he talks and when he's writing. So much so that he's known for his niche, which is succinct blog posts. They're very brief and to the point. So those are some of the things that are actually very distinctive about his personal brand. So as we go through this list, have a think about what it could be for you. Like, what are those things that are really distinctive when it comes to your personal brand? What are the things that people will immediately remember you for or notice you for? And they could be visual things. They could be how you speak, how you move about the room, the words that you use as well. So Seth's brand archetypes are the sage, the citizen, and the creator. So for those of you that joined the workshop yesterday, this may make a little bit more sense. But basically, he's all about information, knowledge, sharing it with the every person. So he makes it really accessible. And he's the creator in that he is always pioneering new ways of thinking or trying to open people up to a different perspective. And as I mentioned already, he's consistent with his blogging and his writing as well as his books. So this is really important to notice as well, because all of these people have something that makes them very sticky because of their consistency in a particular area. Marie Forleo is another example of an epic personal brand. So I'm not sure if many of you are familiar with Marie Forleo, but she has a book called Everything is Figure Outable. She also has a course called B School. She also has a smaller course called The Copy Cure. So she is all about business and marketing, and she works primarily with multi-passionate business owners as well. And her distinctive personal branding is that I think she is very outspoken about the causes that she supports. There is this real heart-based business aspect about Marie Forleo, and there is so much I guess she does business in a really different way. So she almost tosses a lot of those old school business principles out the window, and she does it with heart, which I find really attractive and very sticky for a brand. She's also bold, cheerful, and quirky as well. And her brand archetypes are the citizen, so she is for the every person. She's also a rebel because of the fact that she kind of pushes the envelope when it comes to business and marketing. And she's a magician in the way that she is able to create this sense of transformation and build this vision for what someone's new business could look like. She's really epically consistent with creating high quality YouTube video content, and her niche is all about how to start online businesses. And that is really great to understand because she's not talking about business or marketing in general. She's very specific with her audience. So that's some of the things that makes Marie Forleo's brand really specifically sticky. The next one is Casey Neistat. So Casey Neistat is a prolific YouTuber, and he has a very distinctive style. If you watch one of his videos, there is almost this haphazard style about it. It almost looks quite messy and cluttered, and it comes through in his personal branding. He wears a lot of informal t-shirts. He has this messy hair. He typically wears sunnies, and there's this creative vibe that he has where everything is kind of tossed together, but it's actually highly calculated. So if you look at some of his videos, they all look really casual, as if they're just casual documentaries of everyday life. But when you actually break down the technique that he uses, there is so much thought and intention behind his video style. He is the creator and the rebel brand archetype, and he's super consistent with, again, making video content for YouTube. And his niche is really about engaging people with very interesting vlogs about his life around New York City. So it's hyper specific. So that's Casey Neistat. And Ash Ambridge is another one that is not, this time Ash isn't a YouTuber, but she has a really strong visual brand. If you can kind of see the things that I've pulled together from the internet about Ash Ambridge, you'll see immediately she has one or two main colors. She uses black and this really bright fuchsia magenta color. Now, the thing about Ash that makes her really sticky and memorable is the fact that she's unapologetic in her witty messaging. She is the rebel and the jester when it comes to her brand archetype, and she's consistent with creating an online resource for blog articles as well as a course. Now, the niche is really about her talking directly to action-orientated business owners. She has hacks for freelancers, and so that's her specific niche. It's really action-orientated. It's not so much about the explorational style. It's really about doing something. So even if you see how she uses her messaging, a lot of this is in direct alignment with her brand. There is certain words that she's using: quit your job and do something creative. There's snappy, trashing imposter syndrome. There's a rebellion in her, which is really cool as well. And of course, the middle finger project, which is so famously Ash Ambridge. It's just really sticky aspect of her brand because her messaging is so consistent and cohesive. And then the last one we have is Marcus Brownlee. And I love Marcus Brownlee's videos on YouTube. He does high quality tech video reviews. They are very intentional, they're beautifully filmed and highly informative. So he does reviews on everything from computers to phones to audio gear, and his distinctive personal branding is minimalism. There is a sense of cleanliness in his style and his approach. He is known for his ability to articulate the pros and cons about a product, and he is able to do that in a very factual but engaging way. He also tends to wear a lot of graphic t-shirts. You never see him in anything super formal. There is always the red and black color palette. His brand archetype, I would say, is the sage because it's highly informative, and he's really consistent with his videos. He doesn't tend to do any other things, and his niche is really the high-end tech review genre when it comes to YouTube. So hopefully with some of these examples, you're able to kind of see that everybody who has a very strong personal brand has something that is distinctly personal, distinctly memorable, about their personal brand, whether it's the visual aspect or whether it's the personality aspect. So I would inspire you to have a think about what that could be for you. Just have a ponder about that, and what types of what aspects of your brand personality and your voice are naturally going to come out when it comes to your personal brand? What are those things that you want people to know you for? This is how you want to be perceived. So it's really a good exercise to see if you can understand what it is that you are going to anchor further into when it comes to your personal brand, and what you're actually going to leave out of your personal brand. And when it comes to your visual branding, it's the same thing. What are some of the things that will start to define who you are from a visual branding perspective? And at this stage, I would say this would be just an intuitive gut instinct check for yourself, just to see what pops into your head when you ask yourself this question. I think there's going to be quite a lot of work to actually understand what goes into your visual branding after this. But for the time being, I think just to have a brief check-in to see what are those things that immediately come up for you that people recognize you for, or that you want to be recognized for, is going to be a really great place to start. And the other thing to start thinking about is, what do you want to do consistently, or what do you want to cultivate? So for Marie Forleo, it was her courses, and also she's very consistent with her YouTube video content. But what about you? What is it that you will do in your business? Are you going to create a product? Are you consistent with the service you provide, the content that you produce? Is it a way of living that you inspire others to live? Or is it a belief that you want to change? Is it a movement that you're really passionate about? Whatever it is, it has to be something that you're consistently working towards. And that will be one of the things that will anchor further into when it comes to understanding your mission as well, and the actions that you're going to start doing as well. So it's just something to keep in mind as we go through this presentation. And your niche, who do you actually serve? So this really creates a strong point of differentiation. It can be the people that you want to serve, specifically a particular group of people, or it could be something that you're really great at. This is your super zone of genius, in a sense. So for Marcus Brownlee, his zone of genius is talking about high-end tech gadgets, right? He loves that. It's his passion. So that is his niche. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a person or an industry. It could be something very specific that you're absolute genius at. Okay, great. So we're going to move into values and vision. And then after that, we're going to look at the mission side of your business as well. So I want you to think about your personal brand in that it should always be aligned with your values and your vision. This is almost the foundation of your brand. It's what your brand is built upon. It is built on how you move about the world and almost that moral code of conduct that you believe in. So that's your value system. And it's the vision that you have for the world in its ideal sense. So I'm going to move a little bit further into that, just to break it down in a bit more detail. But understand that your brand is made up of many different aspects. So today we're really going to focus on the values, the vision, and mission. And other trainings that we've already done, other workshops, we've had a look already at the brand personality and also visual identity. We've also touched on customer as well. But today we're looking primarily at values, vision, and mission. And so when you're looking at where values, vision, and mission come in when it affects your branding, it's actually pretty much the overarching notion of what your brand is based on. It is the very core of what drives your brand. And underneath that, or within that, that is where your vision is sitting, because your vision needs to line back up to your values. Your mission is a little bit more specific. It is also in alignment with your vision and your values, but it's a little bit more tangible. So if you imagine your values as the overarching principles of how you live and how you move through your personal brand, so your business and your life, probably, your vision will be the direction that you're going to steer this into. And your mission is the objectives or the goals that you're actually going to create that are going to help you get to the vision. And then everything actually filters down into your brand and your business. So essentially your brand and your business is a distillation of your values, your vision, and your mission. That's where all that energy goes. Now, it's important to understand the difference between values and personality traits, because I know a lot of you may have done the class yesterday. So we talked a lot about personality traits. So your values is really the moral code for your decisions. It is the internal mode of operation, and it's who you are at your core. So an example of that would be you have a value for creating harmony, or you have a value for creating connection, or you value intuition, or you value what's a few other ones? I've got a lot of them, but I was thinking about in terms of this. Maybe it's a value for community, or valuing family and friendship, right? So those are the values that you hold. And then your personality traits are actually how you behave, think, and feel. And it's the external mode of operation, and it's how you are perceived by others. So for example, you might be easygoing and friendly. So that's the difference between values and personality traits. So when we're actually going to understand how our values come out, we typically start at the top, which is understand your purpose, which is your why, right? But this comes from a lot of the work that Simon Sinek does, or Simon Sinek has created. And sometimes the purpose side of things is a little bit difficult to pin down. It can feel really intangible to a lot of people, but really your purpose and your why is you at your highest potential. It's your most self-actualized version of you. And your passion, your motivation, and your drive really helps you move towards that why, right? So your why is determined and defined essentially by your values and your vision. So if you are connected to your purpose and your why, then everything will drive you towards that. So there is a natural movement or momentum towards that why if you are able to define your values and your vision. So what that essentially means is, instead of trying to find your why, which can feel really difficult for a lot of people, we start at defining your values and your vision, because that is a little bit more tangible than the why. So by defining your personal brand's core values, vision, and mission, you are really going to be driven by a bigger purpose for what you do. You'll be able to develop self-worth, a sense of value, and confidence in your expertise, which is really important for a lot of us who are creating a personal brand. And it allows you to really anchor into who you are so that you can cultivate a cohesive personal brand that is sustainable. And you want to feel aligned in your brand and in your business. So by doing it this way, you'll always feel a sense of true alignment, which is really great as well. Okay, defining your core values, your vision and mission ensures that each decision is in alignment with your personal brand. So what this does in turn is that it cultivates brand authenticity, consistency, and cohesion. So it's all about alignment. If everything is aligned, then you don't really ever go down the wrong direction, because you know that at the bigger picture, the values, the vision, and the mission, those core foundational aspects of your brand are going to be aligned. And what that means is, if you build your business and your brand on top of that, everything else starts to make sense. Okay, so here are the 6 steps to define your core values, and these are also in the worksheets as well, so you don't feel like you have to take all the notes, but we want to start with what resonates for you. So this is all about highlighting the values that you feel best represents who you are. So here are all the values, and again, you'll have this in the sheet, and I'll I would encourage you to go through this exercise and actually spend a bit of time on it, because I think sometimes it actually takes us a little while to understand our core values. So you'll have a number of core values here. So these are probably the most common core values, but feel free to add your own as well. So what you're going to do is you're going to highlight probably 10 to 20 of these core values. And they're the ones that are going to resonate really strongly with who you are. And I want you to do this in the framework of your business or in the framework of your personal brand. So what actually resonates strongly for you when it comes to your personal brand? It might be a really different story if you take into consideration your whole person outside your business. But for this exercise, I think it's good just to be very specific that it is for your personal brand. You'll probably find that they're going to be very similar anyway. So the second step is to review your biggest achievements and challenges. So you really want to define your positive beliefs, behaviors, and character traits from your biggest achievements and challenges. And the questions that you'll start to ask yourself is understanding what were the biggest achievements that you were deeply proud of. So this is also, I would say, in context of your brand and things that you do within your business. It could also be not unrelated as well, if you can find some way to relate it back. But I think generally, if you look at my example, and I'll show you this in the next few slides, is that there is some relation back to the business and the service that I offer. So the biggest achievements that you were very proud of, and also the challenges and obstacles that you have overcome in your life. What were the positive beliefs, behaviors, and character traits that came from this? So it's always positive, because we essentially want to draw out the values in a positive way. I've had clients who actually look at the negative traits when it comes to challenges and obstacles, but we want to preface this in terms of the positive beliefs and values that you have. So ultimately, from doing this, you want to be able to distill this down into the values that these represent. And I'll give you an example of what this looks like. So for example, my main achievement for me personally was moving overseas for 2 years. So I moved to Japan and I started my design studio when I was overseas, because it was something that I've always wanted to do. And it was a huge achievement, because for me, I didn't know anyone else who did something like that. So it was very different and a little bit of a leap of faith for me at the time. My biggest challenge was moving from engineering to study design and eventually become a designer. And of course, this was really different as well, because no one I knew kind of moved from engineering to study design, but it was something that I really wanted to do. And when it came to the beliefs, the behaviors, and the character traits, for me, it was all about following my intuition, even if it felt scary, not being afraid to do something that was different, persistence for the longer journey, and finding my own way of expression in the world. And the values that actually come from these behaviors and beliefs is trust, intuition, courage, individuality, creativity, practice, dedication, connection, depth, and decisiveness. So I hope you can see where I'm getting my values from. And the important thing to note here is that the values need to make sense for you. You need to go through this and understand exactly what values you're going to extract from this. That's actually going to help define your personal brand. So for me, for example, intuition came because I've followed my intuition. Individuality was something that keeps coming back, because it was about not being afraid to do something that was scary. And then this persistence for the longer journey came practice and a dedication and this decisiveness to continue. So that's how I extracted my values. And it's really a wonderful exercise to do, because you're looking into the past to uncover some values that you might not have been aware of. Sometimes we tend to look just at the present moment, but actually the past is holds wonderful treasures for helping us understand where we were and how we got to where we are today. So that's why we look at the past to understand the values that come from our obstacles and our biggest achievements. Now, the third one is to look to the future. So we're doing present, past, and future. The future version is really about getting clear on your vision. So this step, in step 3, we're actually going to define the vision statement as well as the vision for your brand as well. So we're going to define what this vision version of you would look like in 3 years' time. Now, the reason why we do 3 years' time is because it still allows for a bit of tangibility. Whereas if we really stretch things out beyond 3 years, it can get a little broad, and it's really hard to understand whether that is you in 3 years' time or beyond 3 years' time or not. So for most of my clients, they tend to find that 3 years works really well for them, but feel free to adjust that for yourself as well. So what is a personal brand vision? So personal brand vision is what you would like the world to look like if everything went to plan. So this is really about the ideal version of the world. It's a focus on the future, and it describes your ultimate desired outcome. It should be inspiring and challenging. And it should be also related to your personal brand and your business. And it's future focused. So that's the important thing to note. And in your worksheet, you'll find these prompts around who do you want to be? And what does that vision for your business and brand look like from 3 years from now? So this is the version that you're really moving into. And when you're able to have immense clarity around what that looks like, everything else in terms of your decisions, in terms of your brand, in terms of your business makes so much sense, and it becomes so easy because you have a general direction to head into. Now, it doesn't need to be highly specific, like some vision aspects will want you to get really specific with like the type of coffee you're using in the morning, you're drinking in the morning, or like what your teacup looks like. But what I really want for you here is to understand what it feels like and just a rough version of what that world looks like. And the more that you tap into it, the clearer it'll become over time. But also know that clarity comes when you actually move towards this as well. So some of the actions that you'll take after today will hopefully be around moving towards this vision version of you and using that to help you get clearer around what that vision looks like. How is your business brand changing the lives of those around you? So this is in your vision. And how do you actually want to be perceived by others? What are the positive habits or rituals that you will practice daily? So for me, it's like getting up early in the morning. And what are the character traits or behaviors you would like to have? What mindset would you wake up with each morning? And overall, what values do these things actually represent? So from your future version, what are the values that you really hold to be important? So this is an example of what it looks like for me. So my vision for my business and my brand is changing the way businesses and brands are run, being a leader in the conscious business space and helping conscious communities and brands thrive. And the positive daily habits, for me, it's getting out of bed at 5:30 a.m., which I'm still working on. It's to read daily and spend 2 hours in nature. It's also to move energetically with the seasons, which is something that I do currently as well. And my beliefs, behaviors, and character traits, again, it's around being decisive. It's around honoring my boundaries and being conscious. In terms of mindset, it's around believing that growth comes from expanding my comfort zone. And the behavior that I have is this freedom in my movement and expressiveness in how I speak. So there are similarities, which is a great thing that you'll probably notice when you do this for yourself, so that there'll be similarities from the values that you choose to the values that you uncover in your obstacles and challenges and achievements, and the values that you uncover in your vision. There should be some alignment. Otherwise, maybe it's worth going through some of these in a little bit more detail to understand why certain things aren't feeling as aligned as they could be. So the values that really distill from this is consciousness, expression, freedom, practice, depth, and balance. So once you've done that, you are going to write your vision statement. And this is really distilling the vision that you've fleshed out in the step before to one sentence. So this becomes your personal brand's ultimate goal, which is your vision statement. And when I was doing the research for this, it's really interesting to see how other consultants actually consult for vision statements. And what I found was that there's a few things that you can add into your vision to supercharge it. So one of the things is you have to include why and what you do without saying what it is that you sell. So an example on how to do this would be to start your vision statement with, I envision a world that, or I believe in. This is a big, broad vision for your business, so it should feel hugely inspiring and challenging, and it doesn't need to include the products or the offerings that you sell. And you're also going to include how you will do it. So you want to add in 2 to 5 of the values from the previous vision prompts and actually be a little bit more specific in how you will do it. So the example there is that you're going to offer a solution for XYZ rather than saying that you're going to be innovative or you're going to cultivate innovation, for example, because that is not as specific and measurable. So if you can get a little bit more tangible with your vision statement, that will serve you much better than if it was too broad or not specific enough. So here are a few things that you could use to prompt the vision statement. So you can start it with, I believe in, I envision a world where, a future that, to ultimately do, or to be the most, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to show you a few examples of what this looks like. So see if you can guess who actually, or what brand actually created this vision statement. So this one is to be Earth's most customer-centric company, where customers can find and discover anything they might want to buy online. So that is actually from Amazon. So it does make sense when you look at the vision statement, and it should make sense because it is very specific to Amazon. And that's the great thing about the vision statements, is that if you read it, it should actually give people a very strong understanding of who that vision statement has come from. If it's too generic, then it may be too broad of a vision statement. It's not specific enough. So in this particular case, you can very clearly see why Amazon has created this vision statement, because the find and discover anything that you might want to buy online is very much part of what Amazon delivers as a brand. Another vision statement, we've got a few of these, is to provide access to world's information in one click. So see if you can guess which brand has created this vision statement. And if you said Google, you would be right, to provide access to the world's information in one click. The key being world's information, and probably access to it gives you that sense of broadness that Google has in terms of data and information. And another vision statement is to help humanity thrive by enabling all teams to work together effortlessly. Now, this is a little bit of a niche brand, or it's a bit more hyper-specific. So see if you can guess what this brand could be. To help humanity thrive by enabling all teams to work together effortlessly. This is from Asana, so it's an online team management software. So it makes sense specifically for Asana. And you can see how they are actually living their vision with this vision statement. So it should really inspire people, your audience, as well as yourself, to live out your vision statement. transportation as reliable as running water everywhere for everyone. So this one, hopefully it is a little bit more obvious because it's specific for transportation, everywhere for everyone. And the brand that did this was Uber. So hopefully that gives you a few examples to reference when it comes to creating a vision statement. You want it to be broad, you want it to be inspirational, but you want it to be a little bit specific. It doesn't have to be hyper specific, but you want it to have some sort of tangibility so that you know if you're moving towards that vision or not. And then this one is mine, elevating environmentally conscious small businesses to drive a sustainable future. So I would encourage you to try and create a vision statement of your own. And it's something that I've actually created for myself. And this specifically, the vision aspect of things in terms of who I want to become in the vision version of myself is something that I actually read through daily. So I actually print it all out, I read through it, and I am so connected to my business every day when I start the day. So it is something that is very, very important and really grounding, especially if you want to feel motivated at the start of your day when it comes to getting into your business from a place of alignment. And then step 4, so we're going back to our core values. Now that we've got our vision and we've defined that, and we've got a few, our core values from the other prompts, from the first 3 steps, we're now going to group them into similar values. So what you're going to do is you're going to group your values into 6 themes or buckets of your choosing. Could be 6 or less, but no more than 6, because then you're going to have too many values at the end of the day. So the best practice with this is to write down all your values, and you're going to write everything that you highlighted from the list in the first step. You're going to highlight the values that you defined from your past achievements, your challenges, experiences, and you're going to highlight the values from your future vision version of yourself. So you'll have a full list of all your values. And then you're going to group them based on what these values mean to you. So for example, the way that I see some of these values, they'll be similar. So for me, determination, conviction, and purpose are values that go together. But for you, it might actually be a little bit different than that. So it's whatever it means to you. And you're also going to remove any values that are going to be too broad, like kindness, or anything that's too universal, like integrity or respect. So these are values that is kind of it's a given if you're working in business. You want to have integrity and you want to be respectful. So that's why we would remove some of these ones that are universal, because if they are your core value systems, I would say they should already be deeply ingrained beyond your core value systems. So you're going to remove the ones that are too broad and too universal. And you're also going to remove any that don't actually resonate as strongly as the others now that you have your full list. You're also going to take out any outliers that don't really go into any of those lists, because typically we tend to think in repeated patterns, and outliers kind of show that maybe it's sort of a thought that doesn't really keep coming back up, which means that's probably not as important as some of the other values that are repeated in various ways. So that's how we're going to group these, and this is what I mean by grouping them in the 6 or less groups. So for me, I've only got 5 groups because I didn't have 6 full groups, and that's okay. But as you can see, the groups are pretty specific to me. So for example, the first group is consciousness, awareness, and sensitivity. And then I won't go through them all, but for group 3, for example, it's all around creation and expression. So creativity, individuality, independence, creative expression, and innovation go together. in my mind. And then, for example, group 5 is around depth and practice. So practice, commitment, consistency, dedication, adaptability, and depth. For me, they all go together, but for you, it might actually be very, very different. Great. So now that we've grouped them, you're going to do the final thing, which is highlight the final word that really encapsulates all of those lists, or encapsulates what that list means. So you're going to distill each group down to one core value that captures its essence. So for me, when I went through the list and actually took everything into account, I realized that my core values were consciousness, connection, creative expression, depth, and effectiveness. Everything else did not resonate as strongly as these words. So for my personal brand, and actually these are also the ones for myself as well, outside my personal brand, these are the values that I live every day. And I do that by also living out my vision, which is directly in alignment with these values. So the main thing that I like to check at the end of this exercise is, are these core values something that actually comes up repeatedly in your vision as well? And if it doesn't, you have to understand or explore whether these should actually be more prominent in your vision, or whether maybe some values are missing that you want to be moving towards as well. It's really good to understand, it's great to know that the core values that you're moving towards in your vision version is going to be aligned either way. So that's why we do the check at the end. Great. And then the last step in this is really to cultivate and refine. So test drive your core values and see how they integrate into your life. Great. I'm just going to hop over to the chat. Okay. Yeah. Hi, Cam. Thank you for your note. So Cam is a diabetes dietitian offering online telehealth consultations for diabetes management. Fantastic. And Bernard, yes, so these are all in the notes. You'll get these notes at the end of today's workshop. You'll also have the opportunity to copy and use the worksheets that I'll share at the end to be able to define your core values as well. Excellent. So just a reminder that your core values is a daily reminder for who you want to become in your personal brand. So think about how they actually help you expand your comfort zone when it comes to your business and your brand. This is really important because it's all about growth. And how can you use them to actually guide you in decisions when it comes to your business? So I'll go through some of the examples of how I do that with my value systems in a little bit. And how do you balance each core value without pushing it to the extremes? So this is something that keeps coming back with my clients, is that when they actually test their values, sometimes they'll find that maybe, for example, I'm just trying to think of an example. Maybe patience, for example, is a value of theirs. And sometimes you can be too patient in certain situations. So it's really about understanding where those extremes are for you, where those boundaries are, and how you're going to balance that. So it doesn't mean that you're going to cultivate these values every day and really push it to the point where it no longer feels right for you. It still needs to feel in alignment with how you want to act and how you want to live. But there is always going to be a limit depending on who you are and how you operate in the world. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're testing and refining your values. This will be also apparent when it comes to something like content creation, because maybe authenticity is a value of yours, but how authentic are you going to be online? What is your limit? What would you share versus what will feel almost too raw to share? So for each of them, it's about understanding what those boundaries are going to be. But have fun, refine, and explore, and have a play in terms of how this actually helps steer you when it comes to your personal brand, because you may find that you actually lean into some of these more now that you're aware of them. This is what I noticed for myself as well. And then the thing we're going to also look at today is defining your personal brand mission. So your mission actually drops out from your vision, and it is really the path which is on the way to your vision. So this may be projects, goals, and objectives. So note that for your mission, it's a lot more tangible, actionable, and measurable. These are the things that you need to note that is going to be different in your mission than it is in your vision. Your vision is that big, ideal world of what things would be like if everything went to plan. But your mission is the steps along the way that's going to get you there. If you actually break your mission down further, you're going to break it down into the projects, the goals, and the objectives. Know that your mission will evolve over time. So will your vision. After every 3 years, it will continue to evolve. But your mission may actually change after you reach a specific goal or objective. It is really focused on the present moment, whereas your vision is focused on the future. And it's really about the daily actions of your brand. And this is why it's important to understand what your mission is and what you want to become consistent in, because it's going to help drive those things that you're going to have to do on a daily basis to build your personal brand. So we're going to write out the mission statement in a very similar way that you have done with your vision statement, but you're going to use a few different prompts for this. So we're going to look at your mission by breaking it all down into the key objectives for your personal brand. So again, it's going back to some of the things that we looked at that were really distinctive for very sticky, epic brands, personal brands. And all of them had that consistency, right? They had something that they were doing consistently. So in this particular example, we want to have a look at what your brand is consistent at doing. So what are those tangible things that you're going to show up and do every day? It might be content, it might be creating or writing, it might be crafting something for your shop, it may be baking, it might be working with a particular customer or a particular audience. Whatever that is, you need to do it consistently. And how do you build expertise, authority, and visibility? This is more of the marketing aspect of things. So how will your brand actually build visibility? Where will these people be? And how do you actually find the connections to your ideal audience or your ideal customer? So the reason why we look at it like this is because the first one is about what you're actually doing in your business. And the second question is all about building expertise, authority, and visibility from a marketing perspective. So it's the marketing of your brand. And the third one is differentiation. So how do you build differentiation and how do you create a niche? So if you're able to answer these questions, these will effectively become the key objectives for your brand and for your business as well. So the next step you're going to do is you're going to define the greater impact or transformation each objective will have. So by doing this, you're able to see how each objective is actually going to help you get closer to your vision. So what's the impact that that particular action will have? So for example, if I was to build expertise by creating a podcast or starting a podcast, the greater impact or transformation that will have on my brand is greater visibility and the ability for me to reach out to audiences that potentially I don't have access to now. And the third prompt is to choose the objectives that will make the biggest impact on your vision. So once you have all of these objectives written down, you're going to prioritize them in in order, sorry, of the ones that will make the biggest impact. So you're always wanting to work on the things that are going to have the biggest impact on your vision, because they will be the ones that are going to steer you forwards the fastest, and it's the most effective way to move forwards. And you're going to summarize this particular mission into a mission statement. So this will become your mission statement. You can either, if your mission is really big, you can either create that particular mission into one mission statement, or you can summarize a number of those objectives into the one mission statement, if that makes sense. So I hope that was clear. So as an example, the key objectives for my brand is to create strong brand identities for conscious businesses and brands, supporting businesses to create sustainable, environmentally considered offerings and services, coaching, mentoring, and educating on the topic of intentional branding and running a conscious business. So those are some of the examples of my key objectives. And some of the other ones, short term, would be to build a podcast, or to start a podcast with my friend, and to create passive income in the form of a few courses and online templates and things like that. And the impact, change, or transformation is the emergence of conscious businesses and communities. So I really want that to be the change that I see in the world. I want to see business owners running their business in a conscious way. And the most impactful objective that from that list is really around educating on the topic of conscious business and branding. So for me, I see that as the thing that's going to drive my business towards its vision in the most effective, impactful way. So it's really about understanding the priority in this case. And here are some examples of different mission statements. And what you should see here is that the mission statements typically are a lot more specific and tangible than the vision statements. So this is one of my mentors. He is a designer and just an all-around badass. His name is Christo, and his mission is to teach 1 billion people how to make a living doing what they love. And this is another mission statement. This is by Warby Parker. So they do eyewear or glasses, and their mission statement is to offer designer eyewear at a revolutionary price while leading the way for socially conscious businesses. So in this mission statement, what you can see is revolutionary price is something that's very tangible, and socially conscious businesses shows what their values and what their vision looks like as well. So they've actually embedded their values and their vision in this mission statement. And for Amazon, we strive to offer our customers the lowest possible prices, the best available selection at the utmost convenience. So for them, again, it's highly specific, very tangible, very measurable. So it's really clear for Amazon whether they're able to hit this or not. And the difference between the mission statement and the vision statement for Amazon is that you can see how broad and how idealistic the vision statement is. So they wanted to be the Earth's most customer-centric company where customers can find it and discover anything. And that is a huge, very broad, very challenging vision, which is really exciting. But their mission is a lot more tangible and measurable. And Google has a mission statement of to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. And if we compare that to their vision statement, again, their vision statement is to provide access to the world's information in one click. It's a lot broader. Great. So one of the things that you want to check off your list is it self-initiated? You want to make sure that your mission is something that you can start yourself, that you're not waiting for someone else to start. This is also the same checklist that I use for goals, because in addition to SMART goals or SMART mission, So having something that is specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and time bound, you want it also to be self-initiated. So is there a clear first step that you can take, not someone else? And is it worth the investment of your resources, time, and energy? This is a really integral question to ask, because sometimes we have these big ideas and big dreams for what we want to do, but then we actually realize that we're not ready to invest our resources, our time, and our energy towards it. And that's why missions and goals don't actually get anywhere, is because we don't actually put in the time, the energy, or the resources to do them in the first place. So that's really great to tick off. And then the third one is, do you have complete control of the outcome? Not complete control, I should say, but some control of the outcome or course towards your goals. So are you able to steer it in a way where you can know that you're getting closer to your vision? And if you break your mission down into the small pieces, that's how you're able to create the more specific and measurable goals and actions as well. So one of the things in the worksheets is also going to take you through creating the mission statement, and then actually prompting you to break everything into smaller pieces so that you're able to create the specific and measurable goals. So from here, I would say, once you've defined your mission, you want to go in and break it down into what you're actually going to do from your mission. What does that look like in 1 year's time? What does that goal look like? And then you're going to break it down into a 6-month block. So what are the next 6 months going to look like? What's that goal going to be? And then you're going to break that down into 3 months as well. So if you move in 3-month blocks and you consistently review your progress, you will be astounded by how much work you get done that is in alignment with your mission and your vision. It really does drive you there, but it's really because you know that everything lines up, and it almost takes the guesswork out of what you need to do every day. So you go in knowing exactly what actions you have to take to be consistent with how you show up in your personal brand. So that consistency of what you deliver, and then you know where it's going to actually go in a sense. You know where your energy is going. You know what mission, you know what the vision is, you know why you're doing it as well. So if everything is lined up, it creates that passion, drive, and motivation that makes it a lot easier for you to continue to move through with your personal brand, even if things get really hard. Okay, so applying your core values, vision, and mission to your brand. So this is the interesting aspect of the workshop, in that we want to see how this actually applies when you actually put it into your business. So how do we do this? By cultivating authenticity. How would we do this to build trust on your website? What would we do to build credibility online via social media? And how would we apply this for a strong product or service-based offering? And lastly, how do we actually build strong networks and communities when it comes to our core values, vision, and mission? So let's do cultivating authenticity first. This is something that we tend to get quite a lot of questions around, because it's a little bit more, there's probably a bit of a gray area around how authentic we should be. But I believe that if you live your values, vision, and mission daily, and they are in alignment, then you are really cultivating your brand authentically. So cultivate authenticity by using your values, mission, and vision to guide you in your decisions. So this is how I do this in my business. It affects how I choose who I want to serve. So I make that decision from the values and from my vision. Rather than allowing the customers to choose me, I brand myself in a way to call out to the customers that I want to serve. And so it gives me the opportunity to really direct my focus towards the people who I know I'll be able to help and impact in the biggest way possible. It also helps me decide how much I should share personally about my life. So for me, my brand is all about educating and helping people create conscious businesses. So some of the things that I share are going to be a little bit more personal in terms of the struggles and challenges that I've gone through when building my own personal brand, and also how I've overcome them. But the decision around how much I share personally also comes from the vision and my values, which is around really helping people be very conscious in how they live their lives. So instead of me just sharing the sort of negative experiences, I always share constructive experiences of how I got myself out of those situations as well. So the things that I share need to be educational and also motivational. It has to have a purpose to help people know how to get, I guess, move through it in a similar way. So I share my process, my strategies, and my tips. It's always positive. That's how I decide what I want to share and what I don't share. I typically don't share some of the experiences when I'm going through them. Like if I'm having a really bad day, I wouldn't put that online because I don't think it's going to be as valuable to the people that I want to serve. So that's how I would make that distinction. For your business, it would be really different. The workflow strategies and processes. For me, when I work with my clients, I want to make sure that they move through the process with depth. There is a real honoring of the depth and the intuitive aspect of things as well, because I believe that if we hold our hearts and let our hearts decide, and then use strategies and the logical processes to underpin that, we are always going to be moving towards a better outcome. So that's just a personal belief of mine, and that actually is infused in my workflow, in my processes, and in my strategies that I use to take my clients through branding and design. So that's another example of how my values come through that. It's conscious and it's intuitive. The causes that your brand supports is going to be something else. It might be movements, it might be events, it might be collaborations that you choose to work with, and offerings, products, and services. Are you all about creating accessible services for people? And if so, what prices would that be for your customers? How would you serve your customers in a way that really anchors back to specific values that you have? So, for example, one of my services is all about expression. So the coaching aspect of things. I really honor expression in my clients. And I know that not everybody likes to go through a set, rigorous framework when it comes to coaching. So my service is really customized and personalized specifically for those clients. So that again is another example of how my values has come into the services that I've designed in my business. Owning your boundaries is another one, really, really important. And ultimately, it helps you know what you're going to say yes to, the things that are going to be really impactful, and the things that you're going to say no to, because they're probably not worth your energy and your time and your resources. So this list is really something that I've held very closely to how I run and move through my business. And I hope it is a good reminder for your business as well in terms of how you make decisions. So the next thing is applying your values, vision, and mission to building trust on your website. So an example of how you build trust is really about showing people who you are, and things like adding your mission, your vision, and your values to your about page, like your mission statement or your vision, or actually embedding some of those things through the content on your website, or even the blog articles that you write. That's going to be really impactful. So create content, events, services, and products that really communicate your vision. So if you invite your audience to actually share in that vision, there's going to be a lot more momentum towards it. So show your audience how your vision and your values are embedded into your offerings as well. So this could be in your product description, it could be in your about page, it could be in your home page as well. So see how different aspects of your website can actually reflect what you're all about, like how you see the world, what that feels like, what those values are going to be. It will also be something that you likely share with your audience. They probably buy into it just as much as you do. They probably share a very similar value system and a vision system. So that's why there is already that connection. That's what you want to aim for. Other must-haves is really adding a photo of you so people can connect with your image. So Lynette had a question a little bit earlier on, and she asked whether the size, she wanted to know the size of the picture for her homepage because she's changing the text to pictures. Yeah, so I think in terms of determining the size of your picture, if you're creating a photo of you, it's really so that people can connect with your image. Of course, you necessarily don't need to make it so large. I know that there is a tendency and a trend for people to have a photo of themselves as a banner image. But if that works for your business, I would say go for it, but it's not really necessary as well. Sometimes just a smaller photo of you on your about page could be really effective in helping people connect. Typically with these photos, it should be of you looking into the camera. If you're looking elsewhere, it can actually psychologically reduce trust. So if you're using photos, it's really good just to keep that in mind. And also having a contact page so people can get in touch with you either via email or via some sort of contact form. That's really important to have as well. So those are just some of the things that will show people who you are, allow a bit more transparency when it comes to your values and how it shows up on your website. And then this is an example of how Marie Forleo does it. So she does this through mainly in her copy and in her messaging. So she tells people about who she serves, and the world needs that special gift that only you have. So within this, you can already see what she values. She values people in a way, well, her vision is about helping people build their business, right? And she wants people to understand what their special gift is so that they can build something of their dreams as well. So it's really evident in a lot of her copy that she celebrates the people that she helps. So all of the photos on the left are of her previous people that have taken her course. So they've given testimonials, and there is this sense of transparency from her audience when you are able to show what your testimonials are and what they look like and what the people look like as well, and what they've done with their lives and how it's actually changed. So again, she uses the testimonials to highlight the things that she values. If you look at some of the things that people say, it's about making massive change. It's about convincing people from a small town to do something bigger for the planet, right? So again, she doesn't actually say this. This comes from the testimonials, which reinforces her values and her mission and her vision. In her about page, she actually tells you what she is doing. This is her vision statement, essentially embedded into her about page. She's about helping you become the person you most want to be. And it's all about optimism and being a philanthropist and being someone that is relatable but has gone through all of those challenges. She highlights the word socially conscious digital empire, again, to anchor back into her values for wanting social change and social conscious businesses. So those are just some of the things that you can kind of see when you go through websites, and you have almost a different perspective of how people are putting websites together in a way that's really intentional. Okay, great. So the next one is building credibility online via social media. And what you're going to do for this is actually create pillars for your content. This is a great example of how your values can help you create really strong pillars or content pillars. Sometimes it's really hard to understand what you need to post on social media because there's so many different opportunities for you to write content that we kind of get a little bit overwhelmed and lost in terms of what we should share. But knowing your values and your mission and your vision allows you to decide and anchor down into exactly the kind of content that would be most helpful for your audience. So for example, for me, the values around expression, consciousness, depth, and practice, and the mission around designing intentional, intelligent brands for conscious businesses means that my content pillar, which is all around education, I have a few things that really drop out from that, which relates back to my values. The first is around conscious branding. So consciousness, how to build a conscious business. And I want to show people the depth that it takes to create a conscious business or build a conscious brand. The depth in the branding process. So I actually explain why I do brand strategy, because that's another layer of depth that I love digging deeper into when it comes to business and branding. And on expression, the value of expression comes through because I love taking people through how to create distinction in their brand and how to really anchor into their level of, into their personal ways of expression that feels right for them. So those are some examples of how those values underpin the type of content and the type of posts or articles that I write about and love talking about. So have a think about what this could mean for you and what this could mean for your personal brand. What kind of things would you share that really anchor back into everything that we've already talked about? And here's an example. These are a few examples of the work that I do on my Instagram. And I've been a little bit lazy with Instagram recently, so these are a little bit old, but this was a post which was a carousel all about the art of running a conscious business. So I really wanted to take people through the depth of what it takes. So I look at the spiritual, emotional, and the physical side of things, which I'm a bit of a geek around, and I pose certain questions in the carousel. So I ask people to look deeper, and again, that shows you one of my values being depth is something that is really evident in how I've created and designed these posts, because it's all about helping people uncover what their conscious business is all about. What is the tangible change that they want to have on their customers? How can their business inspire positive behavioral change? So all of those questions are things that really relate back to my vision, relate back to my business, and actually help me cultivate the value of depth. Here's another example. And again, it's about, I would say this is more about depth as well, but it's also about being conscious and intentional in business. So again, it's another reflection or another example of how my values really come through in the type of content that I create for my audience. And you find that when you're doing things like this, people naturally gravitate towards it. You tend to do these posts and these types of content tend to do a lot better because naturally people can see that it's a big part of who you are, and there's an authenticity about it, and there is this sense of trust that develops naturally and organically from that as well. So the second last one is around applying your values, your vision, and your mission to your product offer or service-based offering. This is really key if you are a service-based offering and a personal brand. So if you start with your base offering, what is it that you do for your best customers? And we want to effectively go through some of these prompts. So I want you to go through some of these prompts to see what you can actually add to your offering or change your offering so that it really respects your values, your vision, and your mission. So what aspects of your offering or your base offering is actually aligned with your values, your vision, and your mission at the moment? Examples could be to look at your packaging. If you're a product-based business, to look at your packaging. If you are a premium brand and luxury is part of your value system, then is your packaging in alignment with that? Are the ingredients or the experience that someone's going to have with your product going to create that sense of luxury? Or if you're an environmentally conscious brand, eco-friendly, eco-conscious, then are the ingredients that you're actually sourcing, are the suppliers that you're working with, are they actually conscious and aligned from an environmental perspective? So are they ethical? Is it locally sourced, for example? Those are some of the things that you could adjust when it comes to the products to help you find greater alignment with your values and your vision and your mission. The content itself as well is going to be something that you can look into. So again, going back to what we were talking about before, like how do you actually bring out your values and your vision in your content for social media or for your blog and your website? And collaborators, people that you collaborate with, maybe the customers that you work with. How would all of these things actually add in when it comes to your offering? And sometimes with some of the services and offerings, they might also have causes that they support. So make sure that you embed this in if you have a cause that's related to your value system and your vision as well. And how do you actually bring it out more in your offering? So the thing that you want to do at the first question is really looking at what exists in your base offering. What is it that you already have? And then the second question is, what can you bring out more of? What can you do more of to further cultivate your values, to further show your vision and your mission? How can you improve your customer's experience? And how can you price your offering so that it is in alignment with everything as well? So what's the pricing system? What's the pricing structure? And I would say some of these are going to be a little bit more complex to explore because they are bigger business decisions and bigger business questions to ask. If you do need a one-on-one session, it might be a good thing just to take up that offer because it is probably something that you want to have someone to bounce some of those ideas off as well and get a little bit of guidance. So a lot of the mentors that we have are probably going to be very helpful when it comes to business decisions and also branding decisions as well. So please have a look at the mentoring, which is 2 hours for $25 as well. And this is an example of Matt Diavella, who is a YouTuber, and his course. So his course really is a beautiful reflection of his personal brand. So he is all about habits and creating successful and sustainable habits. There is a gentleness about his brand. It's not about being hard and fast in habit creation. It's being really intentional and motivated and inspired the whole way through. Sustained change, right? So even in his copy, it really goes back to some of the things that he really believes in, which is the creating a habit. Discipline is a big value of his, continuous improvement and self-improvement and accountability, and having some sort of system. So typically Matt's content is very systematic. There is an order to how he talks and how he acts. So I would say order and structure is a big part of his brand. So that's something that you can definitely see in his course and even in his content as well. And then another example is Sharon Holmes, who is an inclusive coach. And I just love her work because she absolutely embeds what she believes in, her vision and her values are packed into the type of work she does. So she does inclusive business coaching, and it's really about helping conscious businesses become anti-racist and to grow inclusive coaching businesses which integrate anti-oppression and intersectional feminist lens to their business. And the way that she does this is through her content. All of her content directly speaks back to what she values and that vision that she has for the world. So this is a very obvious way of how someone's values and vision actually goes directly into the offering that she gives the world. And then the last one that I wanted to talk a little bit about before we move into some questions, if you guys have some. So start thinking about questions, pop them in the chat now if you would like, and then I can kind of go through them as soon as we finish this section. I wanted to just talk finally a little bit about building community. So when it comes to building a community, make a list of the communities or networks that share the same values, vision, and mission or offering as you do. This is a really great exercise to do because it helps you find similarities in the communities and the people within these communities so that you can actually create wonderful collaborations and connections. So understanding who it is that you could actually collaborate with and the type of people and the type of communities that will help you nurture those values, vision, and mission further. Now, they can all be separate, so they don't all have to, you don't have to find one community that fits all your values, your vision, mission, or niche. They can be very different or distinctly different communities. So for example, one of the communities that I'm a part of is around aligned business mentoring. So that is a very specific business-based community. There is another community which is all for people who want to grow more when it comes to self-development. So that's another community that I really am a big active member in. I love being very active in those spaces as well. So they are just examples of different communities where I felt very welcome to share my thoughts and have learned a lot more because people are sharing other things that are still in alignment to my values, vision, and my mission in some way. And through there, I have naturally been able to create lots of wonderful connections, really organic connections with people. And that has led to wonderful collaborations. For example, one of the people that I'm starting a podcast with is someone that I connected with online, and we just were following each other's things. And we were in a few community groups together. And over time, it just built into a wonderful friendship. So it's all of these things that can actually move you a long way when it comes to your business because you have people that will support you in the end. And so some of the examples will be around finding communities, so that some opportunities like interviews, product sponsorships, writing content, holding an event together, doing a workshop together, creating some sort of course or joint offering, that becomes a possibility. So I would really encourage you to look into this and be genuine about it, because sometimes you don't have to feel like you have to force yourself to be part of the communities. I think if it comes naturally to you that you like having those connections with people, then this is a wonderful way to open up some of those opportunities a little bit further. If it's not something that you feel aligned with and it feels a little bit forced, then just go gently on yourself, because I think there's a sense of wanting to build that connection, but doing it in a way that really fits how you want to move about social communities in the online space as well. But you could do that not just online, you could do that physically as well. And so an example of this is the Miracle Morning community by Hal Elrod. So he's the author of the Miracle Morning, and this is a thriving community that he's built. So this is just an example of maybe some of the communities that you can find. For me, this goes back to one of my personal values, which is around self-development and growth. And so this is one of the communities that I joined recently, and a lot of people contribute what they find interesting about self-development as well on his Facebook page. But it also means that you don't have to just join the communities. This is also a call to take action if you want to create a community and create that space that really holds the vision. And I have created a Facebook group as well, and it's really interesting how people have come in from various different industries, but they've all found something that has resonated with them through the Facebook page and the Facebook group. So it's a wonderful way to meet people who are like-minded and share similar values as you. So some of those take-home actions will be to use a worksheet to define your core values, your vision, and your mission. So that is probably the key homework from today. And I also want you to start asking yourself, what aspects of your business and your brand would you need to start applying your values, your vision, and your mission to further cultivate these to take it to the next level? So how can you actually take a little bit more action around cultivating your values when it comes to your brand, once you've discovered what they are? And then from the mission, what you'll find is you have a list of objectives that are likely to be smaller projects or smaller goals. And I want you to start thinking about the actions or the projects or these tasks that you will need to start doing. So there's going to be two things around here. So there's going to be one where they're going to be projects and tasks that you're going to work towards, and that's really going to help build your mission. So that's going directly towards building your mission and also your vision. But then also the other thing is to think about what 2 or 3 things would you be doing consistently that would help you cultivate your vision further. So these would be the things that would have the biggest impact towards your vision. For me, it's around building, at the moment, it's around building my business and working with working on design with design clients. So when it comes to creating and building conscious brands and brand identities. And another one of those would be around creating marketing that feels sustainable for me. So these are the things that I actually dedicate time to every day. And it's a consistent action, right? It's that consistency of Seth Godin writing blog posts or Casey Neistat posting YouTube videos, right? It's this real consistency that we want to see. So if you have your projects, which are separate, so these are the things, the bigger objectives that you're working towards, and then you have your consistent actions, 2 to 3 consistent actions that's going to have a big impact, you're going to be really set when it comes to taking action. And that's what this is really about. This is not just about defining your values, your vision, and your mission. It's about doing it in a way so that it inspires you to take action, so that you actually reach your vision and you smash the mission at the end of the day as well. So that is pretty much all for today. We've got the free worksheets to elevate your brand, which I'll pop the link in the chat. So I'll do that now. But while we do that, let me know if you have any questions. Del said he needed to jump off, but he's really excited to watch the rest of the recording. Great. Is there any questions that you would like me to answer, branding related, or it could be related to this training as well? And for anyone who is interested, we've got the Google Docs as well. So if you hop onto that link, you'll be able to make a copy of that. Great. So I know it was a lot of information. And it'll be great to know also how you found it as well. So we have a link to the review or the survey for feedback. So it's really good just to let us know how you found the workshop, whether you found it helpful, whether you learned something new, whether it inspired you to take action towards your business. Okay, great. So it looks like there's a few of you in there already. So you'll find that there's a number of questions, lots of prompts from today's workshop. So yesterday's workshop was more, the worksheets were a little bit less prompt heavy, but today it's really explorational because I want you to get a very clear idea of your vision. So that's the main thing that I want you to get out from this workshop, is to have clarity around who you want to become when it is in relation to your personal brand. So once you have that clarity in your vision and you have your values and you have your mission, you're able to apply that to lots of different aspects of your business. And if you need any help with applying this directly to your brand, feel free to book in a mentoring session for one-on-one advice and support, because it's definitely something that we can delve a lot deeper into as well. Great. Anyone got any questions? And just a reminder, we do have a number of mentoring sessions available. They are limited and it does depend on the mentor, because we do have limitations in terms of how many people we can do mentoring sessions with. So please, if you see a mentor on list that you would love to work with, please book them ASAP. And you do get up to 2 hours for $25, which is quite a steal. So please, please take full advantage of those workshops. Great. Hi, Yodit. Nice to see you. Excellent. Okay, well, if there's no further questions, that's good. I think hopefully I've answered most of your questions throughout the workshop. I'm just seeing if there's anything else. Yeah, so Bernard, the slides are available as well. So you will have all the slides from today, all 90 pages of slides. You will have those delivered to you after today's session, as well as the replay. So you'll have the replay, the slides, plus the Google Docs worksheet to go through any of the things that I presented today. Hi, Cam. Thanks for some great structure. Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. That means so much. Awesome. All right. Excellent. Thank you so much, everyone. If you have any other questions, you could probably get in touch. I've left my email on the Google Docs. So if you go through the Google Docs sheet and you have any questions, you can feel free to contact me via email as well for any specific things too. Hi, Siv. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll see you next time. So I'm running a few more workshops next month. I'll be doing an in-person workshop on branding. So that's a full day workshop that they'll make announcements to. So please keep an eye out for that. And then I'll also do one on UX and UI design. So if you guys have a website, I'll dive deep into the design must-dos and must-haves when it comes to user interface and customer experience as well. So that's going to be something that will be towards the later end of April. But thank you so much. Oh, nice to see you again, Peter. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. All right, bye.